Hello, and welcome to this virtual open house to learn about the operational improvements planned on Interstate 25 between Fillmore Street and Garden of the Gods Road exits. We appreciate that you're joining us, but before we get started, I'd like to point out how this open house works. This is a self-guided virtual open house describing the project. It will take you approximately 20 to 25 minutes to view the recorded video. But at any time, you may pause the video to allow more time on a particular slide. If you have a question or comment, please download and complete the comment form, also located on this website, and submit it to us prior to April 30 of this year. Spanish language of the presentation and comment form are available on the website. Los documentos en español están disponibles en el sitio web. Perdono mi español, por favor. Now I'd like to introduce the project team who will be presenting today. First, we have Mitch Holk. Mitch is the project manager with the Colorado Department of Transportation. Then we have Kevin Cannell, who is the project manager with the engineering firm of FHU. My name is Lisa Bachman, and my role is public involvement, assisted by Monica Ramey. What you'll be hearing on this recording and seen on the slides is an overview of the project, including existing conditions, focus of the design, and key issues. Then Kevin will talk about project details, such as improvements and benefits of the project, as well as goals during construction. Mitch then will share some of the impacts you can expect during construction and the project timeline. And then I'll discuss the public engagement process. And lastly, context for the project and how to submit a question or comment. And now I'd like to introduce Mitch Holk, who will provide an overview of the project. Mitch.
Thank you, Lisa. This project is on I25 between the Fillmore Street and Garden of the Gods exits, 145 and 146. I25 in this corridor is experiencing operational deficiencies, primarily due to increased traffic from community and business growth here in Colorado Springs. The design team for this project has a primary focus in 4 areas: developing continuous auxiliary merge lanes between those exits, 145 and 146, replacing and expanding the existing Elston Street overpass bridges, strategically preparing the corridor for long-term future expansion, and keeping our objectives aligned with the previously completed South Front Range Corridor Assessment Study. We're estimating this project to cost about $52 million for design and construction, provided through state allocated infrastructure funds. Some key issues that we're seeing on the corridor in the project area include operational deficiencies, such as slowing of traffic where on-ramp merge lanes transition onto the freeway, wait times due to traffic congestion, and some crash history, including slight side swipes, fixed objects, and wildlife strikes. Next up is Kevin Cannell. He's going to talk to us about project details.
Hello, thank you, Mitch. All right, I'm excited to talk about some of the improvements and benefits that we will be providing throughout the corridor. So as Mitch mentioned, easing congestion throughout the corridor is a main focus, and it'll be between Fillmore and Garden of the Gods. And the way we're going to do that is through operational improvements. So one of the things that we'll be doing is a continuous aux lane between Fillmore and Garden of the Gods, and that'll give motorists a little bit of time to merge, whether onto I-25 or off of I-25, a little more time to make those movements. Additionally, we will be providing larger inside and outside shoulders. That way, if there's a breakdown or if someone needs to pull over, it gives you a little more room to detour traffic around them. And also lane balance. Currently at the off ramps, we've got a single lane off ramp. We'll be providing 2-lane off ramps. And what that does is it decreases traffic friction, makes it a little bit easier for motorists on I-25 to make that movement to exit the interstate. Also, the Elston Street Bridge, it's an old structure and it's a little bit narrow. So it can't accommodate all of the proposed improvements that are needed for this project. So we'll be replacing those structures with a little bit wider structures, and that'll allow us to accommodate the aux lanes across them, as well as some future improvements that are planned for the project. For the project area, if you've driven this corridor, you've noticed that the pavement is a little bit rough and could use some help. And so what we're looking at doing is we'll resurface the project from a little bit south of Fillmore to a little bit north of Garden of the Gods, and there's an asphalt to concrete joint that you'll notice in those areas, and basically from joint to joint. And it's about 2 miles that we'll be fixing the asphalt, have a nice smooth cleaned up surface when we're done. Also, we'll be working on the ITS in the area, replacing the conduit as well as the fiber within it, getting that spliced over. And additionally, the northbound on-ramp at Fillmore, it's currently backing up traffic a little bit into Fillmore. And what we'd like to do is we'll add some additional storage, so hopefully improve that a little bit. Additionally, we have water quality enhancements planned for the project, specifically stormwater quality. And there's a number of ponds that are throughout the corridor, and they're a little bit outdated. So we're going to bring them up to current standards and add some of the new features like outlet structures, 4 bays, trickle channels, things like that, and improved access. They should then function a little bit better, have cleaner stormwater coming off the project, and also it'll help our friends in maintenance have a little bit better access to get in and maintain those and keep them in tip-top shape. The Sinton Trail runs underneath I-25 along Elston in the middle of the corridor, and we're going to make sure that we preserve that with the project, as well as on the north side of Elston. Currently, there's a gap in the sidewalk, so we're going to connect the sidewalks, fill that gap in, and provide another pedestrian route through the corridor. We've noticed as we've studied the corridor that there's been some incidents with wildlife. So in the Elston area, we're going to add some additional fencing to help to funnel the wildlife underneath Elston, and then also provide a dedicated path on Elston, just south of the Sinton Trail that's in that area, and give them a spot to get them through, keep them off the interstate, hopefully minimize any wildlife we see then up on I-25. Also, as we improve those shoulders, we're going to be expanding them towards the center of the roadway where there's an existing cable rail barrier. We're going to take that out and then add concrete barrier between the northbound and southbound lanes. Additionally, any of the guardrail along the outside edges, make sure that all of that is brought up to current standards throughout the area. While making some of those other upgrades, we're going to make sure to get the traffic signage, have that reset and upgraded, as well as the pavement markings, have a nice fresh coat of paint out there. So just give a nice clean look to the corridor and get it in tip-top shape. And the Garden of the Gods bridge was built a number of years ago. So while we're working in the area, we're going to do a bridge deck rehabilitation. Then construction goals for the project. This is kind of our guiding light through design as it sets us up for what impacts the traveling public is going to see as a result of this project for construction. And I'm happy to report today that our goal is to keep 3 through lanes in both the northbound and southbound direction during any peak hour traffic. We will need to occasionally do some lane closures, and we'll try to limit those to off-peak time as well as nighttime. So keep traffic flowing, minimize the impacts to folks in the area. Access is always important to our friends, the businesses, neighborhoods. We're going to make sure to maintain those as best as possible, have good detours, as well as we'll have a focus on the Sinton Trail and Elston Street. So make sure as we move into final design that we keep access flowing, for all those different elements. This is we'll be using phase construction on this, so doing a little bit at a time, and that's really to keep motorists moving through the the traveling public moving throughout the project area, and just kind of small pieces at a time. Also, access to sidewalks, trails, we'll make sure to maintain those to the maximum extent feasible, and bike and pedestrian detour routes. We've been working with a group of stakeholders already to get some input on how best to facilitate the bikes and peds in the area, specifically at the Sinton Trail. So working with them on those detour routes, and what we will do is kind of dial those in and have a robust outreach during construction, so that if folks need to make a decision on taking an alternative route or maybe an alternative mode of transportation to just simply avoid the construction area, they'll have some advance notice to know that's happening. And generally just, there's a kind of a guiding light of minimizing delays and keeping access moving through the corridor, especially for our emergency service providers. With that, I'll hand it over to Mitch.
Thank you, Kevin. Moving into construction impacts for this project, we do anticipate some lane shifts and closures on I-25 during construction out there. Lane closures, again, will be predominantly during nighttime construction hours outside of peak traffic. Daytime lane shifts will be in place to route traffic around construction zones, keep our workers safe, keep traffic moving. And we do expect some ongoing reconfigurations of those lane shifts during construction. We also expect some temporary impacts such as noise, air quality, traffic congestion, and access detours. These are typical for interstate construction projects, nothing out of the usual. Recognizing that Sinton Trail and Elston Street are critical commuter paths for trail users and local traffic, our design teams developed an innovative phased construction approach that involves short-term closures of Elston Street and Sinton Trail only during times when construction activities on the structures make it unsafe to pass underneath them. These activities might be something like placing girders. Also recognizing that Sinton Trail and Elston Street are highly used by our bicycling community, the design team has collaborated with some local stakeholders to minimize impacts to trail users as much as possible and also establish safe and effective detours around the construction zone when Elston Street and Sinton Trail are closed. Project timeline. We've completed technical analysis and preliminary design for the project and have moved into final design. We expect that to be done by the end of this summer, with construction starting as early as this fall. We do expect this project to take approximately 18 months, and within that 18 months, we're anticipating about 15 months of bridge reconstruction over Elston Street. We anticipate this project to be done in 2024. Next up is Lisa. She's going to talk us through the public engagement strategy.
Thank you, Mitch. As Kevin indicated, over the past several months, we have been reaching out to the public to discuss the project and to get some feedback. There are numerous stakeholders along the corridor, including the adjacent neighborhoods, businesses and residents in the vicinity, School District 11 and their transportation folks, the traveling public, of course, and the biking and trails community, Mountain Metro Transit, which is our local bus service, the City of Colorado Springs staff, including the Colorado Springs Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Services Department, and of course, the Colorado Department of Transportation and Federal Highway Administration. Throughout our outreach efforts, the public has expressed a positive outlook about this project and indicated they would like to see it get done as quickly as possible. We will continue throughout construction, engaging property owners and stakeholders through a variety of communication methods. We'll use direct contact. We'll have some small group meetings and briefings. We will be sending email notices and project updates, and we'll post information to the CDOT website on an ongoing basis. We'll also work with local news media and post on social media. Project information, more information can be found on the project website, which is noted here. And if you would like to be receiving ongoing project updates throughout construction, please send us an email and ask us to be added to the database. Our email address is I25 Fillmore, GOG @gmail.com. Project contacts for those of us that have been on this presentation can also be reached, Mitch, Kevin, and myself. And with that, I'd like to thank you so much for your participation. For questions and comments about this project, please download and complete the comment form, which is available on the website noted here by April 30 of this year. We appreciate that you have joined us, and we hope you found this presentation informative. Thank you so much.